Wait, thank you. I appreciate that. Before we get started, do we have any questions, comments, any concerns, anything unclear? All right. Hearing nothing. Um, so we actually wanted to speak about this last week, but I know the weather was kind of bad in Denver, so we didn't have any audio. So so we just postponed it until today. But this is actually very important and is pivotal as far as meditation is concerned. So um, I definitely wanted people from Detroit to actually be on here as well. Um, all right, so basically, what the subject matter would be tonight is um, the different brainwave states that you could be in. So um, during the day, during sleep, during different activities, you cycle through different brainwave states, and specifically using meditation, you are able to control which brainwave state you are in, and that is of great importance when it comes to combat. And that's kind of where we are at this point. So in your brain, you have neurons. So does anybody know what a neuron is, or can tell me what a neuron is in the brain?
This is Javion from Detroit. A neuron is like the central cell in the brain,
It's the
uh,
central what
cell in the brain, like the main.
cell? Yeah, that's actually a great guess. I don't know if it was a guess or it was a great answer. So a
Uh,
neuron is. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
this Terrence from Detroit. Isn't a neuron? It passes messages through the brain, right?
Mm.
Like it's saying,
Even better. Even better. That's great.
yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything before we get the actual definition? Okay, so a neuron is an electrically excitable cell that processes and transmits information by electrochemical signaling, which means they pass signals back and forth inside the brain via synaptic connections. So that's how information gets from one part of the brain to another part of the brain via neurons. So neurons, you have different neurons that fire or send information at certain intervals, and those intervals can be measured, right? So when you measure those intervals, they are measured in hertz, and hertz are just cycles per second. So it's how many times those neurons fire in 1 second, which can be measured with um, EEG or electroencephalograph. You can measure um, the cycles in which the neurons fire. So let me see. I actually had a picture that I wanted to show. Um, 1 second. All right, let me turn this camera around. All right, can you guys see these pictures?
Yes, instructor.
Okay, so that picture is a wave. So you see between peak and peak, you measure the wavelength, and then the height of the wave is the amplitude. So the higher, if this peak was higher, it would have a higher amplitude, right? And then if this was farther apart, it would have a longer wavelength. So that's just simple wave. Right, so that's important information, foundational information that we're gonna build on. So we have amplitude, which is the height of the wave, and then we have the wavelength, which is measured either peak to peak or trough to trough. Right. So when we measure the brainwave cycle, we measure it in hertz or cycles per second, as we said. So it's how many peaks on the wave in 1 second. So that's how we measure, right? So different brainwave patterns are associated with different attributes. So as I said at the beginning, we can put ourselves in these different brainwave states purposely via meditation. So, for example, if you are just in regular everyday walking around or watching TV in everyday life, your brainwave states are in what's called beta. You're in a beta brainwave state. And beta is 13 to 30 hertz or 13 to 30 cycles per second. And that's associated with conscious thought, being awake, being alert, and it's associated with ordinary reality. So that's one example of a certain brainwave state that you are in unconsciously, but normally in your everyday life. And that's what most people are in. People who don't focus on brainwave entrainment, they, are subject to whatever brainwave state they find themselves in. Right? So how these brainwaves are measured, they can either be coherent or they can be incoherent. So it's measured by the pattern in which the neurons are fired, right? So let me turn this around again. So if you can see this picture, you see this says incoherent, and then on this side is coherent. So you see the difference? One is like out of order, firing any kind of way, not any specific pattern. And then this one is coherent. See? So it's in line, straight in line, versus firing any kind of way. So that's another important piece of this whole thing. All right. So the brainwave states go from a very fast brainwave state, which we call gamma, all the way down to a very slow brainwave rate, which we call delta. And we have brainwave states in between, and we're going to go through each one and what the importance is of those brainwave states. So the fastest brainwave state is called gamma. So gamma is 30 to 100 hertz, and it's associated with perception, alertness, or anxiety. And you are in this brainwave state when you are organizing information. So if you're studying very hard for a test, or if you are in a foreign environment in which you need to gather information to be able to get from point A to point B, then you're in this specific brainwave state, which is gamma. And gamma can also be associated with fight or flight. So gamma is very fast. It's 13 to 30 hertz. So so can you now start to see why brainwave entrainment is important? Because if you are, or if you find yourself in a situation, would you want to shift to a fight or flight situation in which you are gathering information? And normally when you gather information, you're doing it with your eyes. And eyes account for 80% of our perception, right? But when we're in combat, the eyes are very slow. Remember, we have a saying that once you see Kempo, it's already gone. So relying on the eyes can be detrimental to you.
Hey, Mr. Keith, can you repeat what attributes gamma it start with? You said that you had listed like 3 of them when you first started talking about gamma.
Yep. So it's associated with perception or alertness, anxiety, and organization of information.
Okay, cool. I got my pen right here.
Perfect. Yeah, I would definitely implore everybody to take notes. So this is the picture of gamma brainwave state. You see how fast this is? Very fast. And you see the amplitude of the wave is very short. I mean, yeah, it's very short, small. And what, can anybody guess what chemical is released in the brain when you are in a gamma state?
Dopamine.
That's a good guess, but not quite.
Adrenaline.
Serotonin.
I've got 2 answers. So one at a time. I didn't hear that. I heard adrenaline. What was the other one?
I said serotonin.
Great. Yes, serotonin. That's great. So serotonin is the daytime chemical that is released in the brain, in the pineal gland. And as you know that, like I said, it's the daytime chemical, so it's associated with sight. So when you wake up in the morning, you know, the light comes in through the blinds or whatever, and that's when serotonin is released because it's associated with the daylight, it's associated with the vision. So you can see how being in a gamma brainwave state causes you to depend on sight, and is backed up by knowing that serotonin is released when you are in a gamma brainwave state. So, like I said, it's also associated with fight or flight. So where we're going with this is that, remember we said that your everyday walking around state is beta. So if that's the median or the baseline, when you get into a situation, you can either upshift to gamma, which is fight or flight, depending on the eyesight, or if you practice this and you work on meditation, now you can downshift below beta. And we'll get into those as well, but that's where we're going. So that's the context in which this should be framed around, is that we are consciously putting ourselves in brainwave states that serve us versus being subject to whatever the body and the brain wants to do or what it normally would do. So everybody good on gamma? Understand that? Makes sense? Is everybody with us so far?
Yep, we smooth.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes,
instructor.
thank you. You broke it down well.
Thank you. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions at any point, just let us know. Let us know. We can always repeat things. We can go back. Whatever is no problem at all. So let's go back. Let's go to the next one. And gamma is associated with 30 to 100 hertz, as we said. So which is very fast. So the next one is beta, which is our everyday state. That's 13 to 30 hertz. And that's associated with focus, conscious thought, fully awake, alert, ordinary reality. So that's our everyday walking around, just your normal state. You're normally in beta. Can anybody guess what chemicals are released during beta?
Is this one dopamine?
Yes, dopamine is one. Great. What's another one?
Would it be melatonin then? Melatonin?
Nope. Remember, that's the nighttime chemical. Melatonin is the complement of serotonin. So if we are every day fully awake, we wouldn't be releasing melatonin.
Is it endorphins?
No, but that is the answer to one of them. So I'm gonna give it to you. So in addition to dopamine, which is the reward chemical, because we're constantly on our phones, we're doing things that are giving us rewards. The flip side of the dopamine that is being released, cortisol is also released, which is the stress hormone. So if you just reflect back to, everyday life and everyday people, they cycle in between reward because they eat whatever they want to eat, which gives them, pleasure, reward, but they are also in a state of stress. That's the average person because they watch the news and, they are basically in a state of fear. It's not necessarily a conscious fear, like I'm walking around in that state consciously, but it's a subconscious and unconscious state that people find themselves in based on their habituals, based on what they do every day. So they may be, in fear of being fired from the job or from fear of getting into an accident or, their children are at school. They may be fearful of what might happen while they are away. So, the average person cycles between those two, dopamine and cortisol, which is pleasure and reward and stress or fear.
Okay.
Make sense? Make sense?
Yeah. And then
Okay.
I got for the attributes I got focus, thought, conscious awareness is I was just seeing if that was it for the attributes that you said at the beginning for beta.
Alert and ordinary reality and fully awake.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So that's beta. So you see beta in relation to gamma. See the wave, the height is a little bit higher and it's a little longer than gamma. You see gamma is very short, very fast. Beta is taller and a little bit longer, like spaced out more than gamma. and that's 13 to 30 hertz.
Can you say how many hertz is gamma again? I think I kind of missed it. I'm sorry.
30 to 100.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. And remember, just to reiterate, that these numbers come from the times in which the neurons fire in coherence. So incoherence just means they're firing whenever, but coherence means they are firing together at a specific point in time. And when we measure the coherent firing of the neurons, they fire at specific intervals. And the intervals is what we are measuring here. And that's where we get the hertz from. So how many times they fire together per second. So if it's at 100 hertz, that means they are firing at the same time 100 times per second. So you see, it's very, very fast. Makes sense? Everybody with us so far? Any questions, comments? Comments. So we have gamma, beta, and I'm going to give you a way to remember these as well. It's a acronym, so to speak. So the next one would be alpha. So alpha is 8 to 13 hertz. So we got gamma, beta, alpha is next, 8 to 13 hertz. And that's associated with a spacey or dreamy state, very receptive. You're tapping into the subconscious when you get to alpha. It's a deeply relaxed state. It's associated with meditation, daydreaming, before and after sleep. And it's a mystical state that you can also tap into by listening to music. So it downshifts you from beta to alpha, depending on what you listen to. But you can get there by listening to music as well. So
Can you repeat the association one more time? I'm sorry.
Yep, I got you. So it's associated with a spacey or dreamy state, receptive, deeply relaxed, meditation, daydreaming. You are in this state before and after sleep. And it's a mystical state that you can reach by listening to music, depending on what kind of music you listen to. And I know somebody said endorphins for beta, so that's this one. Alpha is releasing endorphins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a good guess. So now you can start to see that this relaxed state is more of the state that we want to be in when it comes to combat, being in a meditative state versus a heightened fight or flight state.
All right, I got
Makes
a
sense?
question on endorphins. As you said, it releases endorphins. What does endorphins control? Is that just like a relaxing feeling, or?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's just being very relaxed. Relax, feel good. Yeah, I was looking it up actually. So some other things that help to release endorphins is exercise, getting a massage, laughter, meditation, as we said. So it's just associated with relaxation. So you can also see how the chemical releases are better at this particular state than even beta, for example. Because if we're releasing cortisol, which is the stress hormone, we don't want to be in a stress state. We want to be in a relaxed state. So being in that alpha state allows you to do what you need to do, especially when it comes to combat or anything like that. You want to be relaxed. That gamma state causes you to be tight, which now constricts energy flow. And we want maximum energy to be flowing when it comes to combat. So anything that is tight is taking away from the energy that is available at the end of the blow. So if I'm doing a palm heel, for example, but my bicep is tight or my chest is tight, just having the energy to cause the muscle to contract now takes away from the energy that is going to the end of the palm heel, if that makes sense. Like if I start with 100% energy and I do the palm heel, but my chest is tight or my bicep is tight, now it takes away from that 100% because I use energy to tighten or constrict the muscle. So it makes less energy available for the blow. So the idea is to be as relaxed as possible when you deliver these blows. Make sense? Questions, comments?
Can we see the wave pattern for alpha?
Yeah, that's where I was going next. All right, so that's gamma, beta, alpha. You see alpha is much taller and more spaced out. So this is another thing too. So there is what's called a wave equation, and the wave equation basically, in so many words, it shows you the energy that is available in any specific wave, and so the energy is directly proportional to the amplitude squared. So we don't need to see the whole equation. Just take my word for it on that the energy is directly proportional to the amplitude squared, which means that the taller the wave is, the more energy you have available. So when you are just in a regular everyday walking around beta state and you shift to gamma, now you make the wave, the height or the amplitude, you make it very small because the waves go very fast. So you have less energy available. But when you go to alpha, now you have very large waves, which is 8 to 13 hertz. So the neurons are only firing at 8 to 13 times per second versus 30 to 100 times per second. Now when they fire with a lot more energy. So the amplitude is much higher. So the energy is directly proportional to the amplitude squared. So when we downshift from beta to alpha, now we increase the energy available as well. So it's twofold. So it's relaxing as well as increasing the energy available or the possible energy. Can anybody tell me what's the two types of energy that we have? And this is a physics question, not necessarily a martial arts question.
Would it be kinetic and potential?
Yep, that's it. Yep, we have two types of energy, which is kinetic energy and potential energy. Does anybody know the difference? Can somebody tell me what potential energy is?
It's energy before, like, it's potential energy is the energy that's stored in you before it's in motion. And kinetic is just when energy is in motion or being used.
Right, yeah, that's perfect. Hope everybody got that. So kinetic energy is the stored energy. It's the energy that you have before it's put in motion. And kinetic energy is the energy while motion is happening. So when we enter these different brainwave states, the energy that we have available, which is directly proportional to the amplitude squared, is now stored as potential energy. And when we strike, it becomes kinetic energy. So just from, this standpoint, it makes sense that I will want to have the most possible energy stored for later use. So if we have more energy, I would rather have more energy available in the form of potential energy, which can later be converted to kinetic energy, than less energy. So it makes sense why I will want to control my brainwave patterns and my brainwave states, because I want to have the most or the maximum possible energy available at any given time whenever I need it. So hopefully that makes sense and made sense to everybody. Any questions, comments? And if this is very technical, I apologize, but we're laying a foundation here for where we're going. So we need this as a foundational information. All right, so we have gamma, beta, alpha. Next is theta. So theta is 4 to 8 hertz. And theta is associated with the superconscious, tranquil, light sleep, deep meditation, greatly reduced thought, deep relaxation, creativity. Can anybody guess what chemicals are released in this state? And I'll go back through the attributes. I know I want to ask. Any guesses?
This would be melatonin because of the sleep, correct?
That's one. Yep. And any other one? I give them to you. So we have melatonin. We have endorphins again. We have human growth hormone. And we also have anti-cortisol. So remember, before in beta we had cortisol being released, which is the stress hormone. Now down in theta we have anti-cortisol or anti-stress. So even outside of a martial application, we can now see the benefit just in everyday life from being able to control our brainwave states, because now we are controlling the chemicals that are released in the body. So being in theta releases human growth hormone, which helps you to repair the body, heal the body, grow muscles. You know, people take human growth hormone. Um, so it's like you have a natural human growth hormone just in meditation and controlling what brainwave states you find yourself in. So going back, this theta state is 4 to 8 hertz. So 4 times per second or 8 times per second, which is now becoming very slow. It's associated with the superconscious. You are tranquil. You feel a light sleep. So normally when you first go to sleep, you know you have 4 sleep stages that you're in, which completes one sleep cycle. So stage 1 sleep, you're in theta. Stage 1 and stage 2, actually, you're in theta. It's associated with deep meditation, greatly reduced thought, deep relaxation, and creativity. So you can also see how this could help you in your job or, you know, whatever your side business or whatever it is. But, you know, creativity is important. So whatever you do, if you need to be more creative, being able to tap into these brainwave states now gives you an edge that you didn't have before, increase your creativity. All right. And then this is the wave pattern. So as gamma, beta, alpha, and theta. So you see how large that amplitude is in comparison to the other one?
And you said the amplitude is directly correlated to the amount of energy you put out, all right?
Yep. The energy is directly proportional to the amplitude squared, which
Amplitude
means that,
squared.
yep, so which means that every time you go up, hold on, let me switch this. But yeah, every time you go up, every time you double the amplitude, you square the energy
Okay.
because it's squared. So like if you went from 2 to 4 on the amplitude, now you have 16 as far as energy is concerned because it's correlated.
Got you.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was theta. So any questions, comments, concerns about anything so far?
Is it possible to be awake while you in theta?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, these are just what it's correlated to, but as we said, deep meditation is also correlated with theta. So you're awake while you're in deep meditation. So it's definitely, and the idea is that this is the goal, to be in these states while you are awake. Specifically alpha and theta, and not only be in them while you're awake, but being in these states while in combat. So just imagine how clear you'll be. You know, like we said, theta is associated with creativity. So what kind of blows could you do when you're in combat in a theta state? Who knows? Like the possibilities are endless.
That's when you become fluid, flexible, and aware.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have anything else to add to this? Did you want to say anything?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Yeah, don't want to monopolize the time. I just wanted to lay this foundation.
I got something to ask. I took previous notes, and I know that certain brain waves are correlated with certain lobes. So, is it possible to be in two states at once, since you already have different lobes in your head at once, or?
Yep. So would it wouldn't necessarily be in two at once, but you can, like, for example, if you are at 13 hertz, like 13 is the top of alpha but the bottom of beta, so you'll kind of be quote unquote in between the two states. And
Right.
the thing is that being in these states is not necessarily sustained. So you go through all of these states at any given moment. Like not necessarily all of them, but you cycle through. So at some points you might be at theta, and then some points you might be at alpha. Like you kind of cycle through. But the idea is to be in those states as much as possible.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Is there a way to, like, I don't know if this is a stupid question, I know there's no stupid questions, but is
Yeah.
there a way to know what state you're in specifically? Like, I know there's things associated with the different brain waves, but because some of them are so closely together, like for example, alpha is deeply relaxed, and then theta is also like deep relaxation. Is there a way to know which brainwave you're in?
The only way to absolutely know is to measure it with EEG, but yeah, the other way to know is just seeing how you feel or being aware, and that's another thing that meditation gives you is being present to the specific body sensations that you're having at any given moment. So people who don't meditate, they aren't necessarily aware of how they're feeling at any given moment. But because we practice meditation and we practice being in the present moment, now we have a different relationship to our bodies and our bodily sensations that the average person doesn't normally have. So you can see, like, at this point, do I feel deeply relaxed? Like, for example, this is a very easy thing, but the average person, while just being in a regular state, they have a clenched jaw. So, just being present and aware to, like, how are you feeling at the moment? Like, are my shoulders tight and tense? Is my jaw clenched? Do I have my fist balled? Like, these kind of things signal that you aren't relaxed. So more than likely, you're probably in the beta state if those are the specific bodily sensations that are happening at the moment. So, like, this is another thing too, is vision. So are you keyed in? Are you focused? Or are you utilizing the gaze? Because remember, we said that being in gamma and beta, we more so rely on the vision. So a lot of that is very focused. Like, I'm looking at certain things, like I'm keying in. But when we start to get to alpha and theta, now we are utilizing the gaze more. So just relaxing the vision, relaxing the eyes can assist you in going to those alpha and theta states and shifting away from beta.
Thank you, instructor.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Everything making sense so far?
Yep. Solid.
Perfect. All right, so this is the last one that we're going to discuss at the moment, and this one is delta. So delta is associated with, or the wavelength is 0.5 hertz to 4 hertz. So that's less than 1 cycle per second at 0.5 hertz. So that would mean that it would take 2 seconds for 1 cycle if you're at 0.5 hertz at delta. So this one, as Terrence asked earlier, you cannot be awake and be in delta. So this one is deep unconscious intuition. Dreamless sleep. So that's another thing too, as far as the sleep cycles are concerned. So, like I said, it's four stages or 4 levels inside of one sleep cycle. And you normally go through those sleep cycles in spurts of 90 minutes. So when you are dreaming, you're normally in stage 1, stage 2 sleep, which is associated with theta. And then when you go to stage 3 and stage 4, which is the deeper sleep, you don't dream in those states. So you're in a deep dreamless sleep. So dreaming is associated with the lighter sleep. But when you're in a very deep sleep, you don't dream. And it's also associated with loss of body awareness. So basically, you're just like going to the world. You're not even aware of the body at this point. But as the trend goes, this has the most energy. Look at that in comparison to the rest of them.
Mm.
So one, we said, you store that energy as potential energy, and it's also allows you to repair the body. So like when you go into those deep dreamless states, now the body is utilizing that energy to repair itself. So it's definitely useful. Useful energetically, and is useful in repairing the body. So the way to remember the order of these, we have gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta. So we have a saying that we say to remember these, and it's green belt at the dojo, gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta, and that's how you remember. So this is a saying that I always say, but all roads lead to meditation. So in order to do this, Amina said that she created this. That she's on the call right now too. So she created that acronym, Green Belt at the Dojo. So we definitely give you your credit. But yeah, no problem. But yeah, as I was saying, all roads lead to meditation. So we do these. This is actually called brainwave entrainment, but we do this via meditation. And another way to do this, I'm sure everybody has YouTube. You could just go on YouTube and type in alpha frequency, and it'll bring up the specific frequency or theta frequency, and it'll bring up a frequency that now you can use to entrain the brainwaves to these specific states. So you can listen to it on the headphones or, listen to it out loud. You can utilize it during meditation to help you get to these states faster. And then remember I said that we have, a certain body awareness that normal people don't have. When you utilize those brainwave frequencies via YouTube, you can be in tune with how you feel when those specific frequencies are being played, and then you can replicate that in everyday life without those frequencies. So see how you feel when you are lying down meditating or seated in meditation with those frequencies playing, and then see if you can carry that over into everything else that you do. So see if you can carry it over while you're driving or, while you're at work or whatever, activity you are partaking in at that specific time. But now you are in training the mind and the brain to be in those specific states majority of the time. So you never really have to be subject to be, staying in alpha. Staying in beta, which is, what the average person walks around in. And another key difference is that when you are in beta and gamma, your attention is directed to the outer environment. Once you start getting into alpha, theta, and delta, now your attention goes internally, which now allows you to be more in tune with what's going on with those bodily sensations that we talked about. So it's like, it's invaluable what this stuff can do for you. I'm just looking here, like theta, they said, is vital for learning and memory, insights and inspiration, spontaneous healing, high creativity flashes, intuition. So it's just very, very, very important that we start operating like this, because we increase our energy as well, which, I'm sure nobody would complain about having more energy.
All right.
So now you should theoretically become more powerful as well, because now you're storing that energy as potential energy that can later be used in combat or whatever you need to use it for. But at this point, I feel like I've done enough talking. So if nobody has any questions or comments, I'm gonna mute, and then I would like to hear what people have to say about, everything that's been said thus far. And Nate, you can chime in with whatever you want to chime in with as well.
For sure. I can get started. I want to say thank you too for giving us the knowledge of these brain waves. Because like you said, it'll give you more knowledge of your bodily sensations. And ever since I was young, I always had questions like, why don't we ever study of what you feeling in the body? Like, why don't I know why I'm itching or like why I feel cold or certain waves is passing through my body? So I'm just want to say thank you for that. And you really went into depth, so that's good too. It was pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
I just feel this lesson. I appreciate you, instructor, for going in deep detail on each brainwave and the different, I guess, what is it, endorphins and melatonin for each one, because I had no idea. just being more self-aware, building up my house and understanding how to control myself uh, better. I feel this was a good lesson to just be mindful and to also practice on a daily with working with your brain and your mind and having more self-control. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And I think it'll definitely benefit you in in your practices as well. So um, can't wait to see how you employ this and the changes that come from you practicing these things.
Yeah, definitely, because I do see myself jumping up to beta or different things when I'm in exchanges or different things like that. And just the ability to go down to alpha or wherever I need to be more calm and soft will be very beneficial going forward.
Yep.
Just
Anybody else?
thank you, Instructor Keith, for breaking this down simply so we can all understand it. And it just helps tie the science to the wisdom that we've been receiving and understanding that, there's power in being calm and relaxed and outside of thought. It just, what I take away from this lesson is I definitely need to experiment and work on those meditative states more throughout the day, not just moments of kumite or anything like that. So I'm going to digest this and actually incorporate that into meditating more.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm glad you made it too, because I know you haven't been here the last couple. So I'm glad you were able to make it and get this. I definitely wanted to get it to, everybody in Denver as well. So thank you for coming.
I want to say thanks for giving me more in depth explanations about what the brain waves do and how our brains use the chemicals how our brains uses as chemicals. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about that beforehand, but now I'm gonna do a little more research and I'm gonna experiment with meditating with different frequencies and everything playing in the background. Because usually when I meditate in silence. So I don't know how each frequency feels differently from each other.
Yeah, perfect. I'm glad you said that because these different brainwave states, not only are they um, associated with the different brainwave frequencies, but they are also associated with chakras as well. So when we get into, the lesson on the chakras, you'll see how these different frequencies correlate to different chakras. So not only will you be entraining the brain, but you'll also be, able to access the energy that's available at each chakra as well.
Um, I definitely appreciated tonight, just getting on this evening. Now, man, it really explained a lot how how the discipline transcends and how it's so universal. Like lately with everything going on, I've been learning like things about the stock market, about technical analysis. And it's crazy because you showed those charts and the graphs and the waves. And I was just thinking about the stock market because even now and then, even if you got Robinhood, if you know anything about charts, sometimes they have the alpha, the gammas, and different things of that such as well too. And it's like how it just really goes to show how, the discipline, what we're learning is just really universal. From physical to the mental, to metaphysical to financial. All the way through. So it really tied in a lot of what I've been learning already recently, and it kind of just helped me, just gain an understanding of it, as well.
Man, that's great that you said that too. And you know, everything utilizes frequency. And that's part of why, you know, the school in Denver and the umbrella that it's under is called Movement Masters, because movement equals life. You know, as instructor says that, if, some catastrophe happens and you go in to look for survivors, what do you look for? You look for movement. You look to see if somebody's chest is going up and down. You look to see if, limbs are moving. Like, you go to look for movement. So movement equals life. So it's the same with this. Like, everything vibrates. Everything. Even the table that is right here, it vibrates at a slower rate. So the molecules aren't moving as fast, and they're, tighter, more closely um, packed together, but everything moves, everything vibrates. So, all of this, everything that we learn in the discipline is just a microcosm of the macrocosm. So I'm glad you were able to make that correlation, and you see how this art is principle based and not technique based. And when you learn principles, now those principles transcend over into everything, and it's not just this small application.
I want to add to the point that the brother made before you, Instructor Keith. Understanding things and why it's important that we understand things, because when you start to dive into the universal workings, it eliminates confusion. And when you're not confused, you're more in a more relaxed state. And like I said, you're able to receive different signals that you wouldn't have because you're operating at a different on different brain waves. And that, like I said, that allows for that potential power, and that allows for that creativity. So it's just important that we, study everything, but as you're studying it, get to the universal aspect of it, not so much the social or, these theories that are out there, but just the universal workings, and, understand things by that pattern. And then, like I said, eliminate that confusion about yourself and thereby the world.
Oh yeah, definitely. I appreciate that.
I just want to say I appreciate you for inviting me to this class this evening, instructor. Definitely learned some valuable information and put things in perspective, and also encourages me to want to reach those different levels of the brain waves and see how I feel and the differences in those different levels, as you mentioned. So thank you again, and I look forward to learning more.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, instructor, for having me on the class. I definitely appreciate uh, everything that you shared today. I believe that is very vital information, as far as not only in the dojo but outside of the dojo as well. Just talking about it made me realize how a lot of times I can jump from beta to gamma in a split second. Even training on Saturday, I felt like I was calm for most of the training until we started doing the throws, and I went into a gamma state because I was stressed, and it wasn't necessary. I didn't have to move in that, but I did for the time being, and it definitely showed how much work that I needed to do, and in order to grow personally, and physically. So I definitely appreciate that, and definitely it'd be worth taking this and applying it to everyday life, which is what I love about the practice that we have. We can take everything that we learn and apply it to everyday life and not just in the dojo, which I think most trainers do. It's mostly combat and everything stays where you are. But this, we can take it and utilize it every single day. And that's what I appreciate most about it.
Yeah, that's great. And what you said makes me think about a saying, and that saying is worry is a misuse of imagination. So we have this imagination that we can think about, whatever we want to think about and imagine whatever we want to imagine. But a lot of times we imagine the negative. We think about, dang, what could happen? This could happen, that could happen. And 99.999 times out of 100, that thing that you imagined negative never happens. So you just, not just you, but you as humanity wasted that energy thinking about something negative versus thinking about the good things that could happen. And it's not anything bad. It's just that where we are now in this particular class and space is we are basically taking what has been given to us as human being, and we are now upgrading that. So we are now, leaving the ordinary and becoming extraordinary or extraordinary human beings. And that's part of it, is upgrading the brain. And the thing is that a lot of what we are operating off of is old programming. So remember, what we've been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years, and a lot of what we had to do to get to where we are now is be in a state of survival, right? So we've been, having to go and run to safety away from wild animals, or we had to go hunt, or we had to go gather food and all of that kind of stuff. So our imagination has evolved such that it causes us to be in a state of survival, because the person who didn't have that survival mechanism, they didn't survive. So if you were, walking on the plains of sub-Saharan Africa and you just walked anywhere, you could be eaten by a lion, or, you could be killed by some enemy if you didn't have the imagination to think like, oh yeah, a lion might be over there, or a person might be hiding behind that tree with a spear. But right now in 2020, that thinking is obsolete, because how often do you have to do things to survive? Like, in comparison to what we had to face coming through that period, life is easy. You can go to the store and get food. You don't have to go hunt or gather anything. You have a car, so you don't have to walk 40 miles a day. You have water coming out of the faucet, so you don't have to, go down somewhere and collect water, or however else people got water back in those days. And this is another thing that comes to mind. Even the idea of stage fright. So I'm not sure if you know, but they polled, a lot of, or a majority of humans, and the number one fear in humanity is public speaking. Number two is death. So people are more scared of public speaking than death. So we must ask ourselves, why is that? So right now, if you go up and speak in public, you have a bunch of people watching you. But let's regress back to when we were, on the plains of sub-Saharan Africa. If you were walking and you saw a bunch of eyes looking at you, you probably were about to be eaten or about to be killed. So we've carried that up to right now, and we look at public speaking as a survival state. So we go into a state of fight or flight because before, having a bunch of eyes on you means that you could possibly be killed. So a lot of how we use our imagination today is obsolete. So I challenge everybody to upgrade how we use our brain, you know, get that software update. Don't operate on outdated programming. I'm sorry, that was probably a lot, but anybody else got anything to say or add or anything?
That was sweet that you just tied it back to why we have public speaking difficulties for sure. And then I got a question about Delta. You said which every level releases something. Does Delta release something? Release any type of chemical?
Yeah, definitely melatonin.
All right, melatonin.
Yeah. Anybody else going once, going twice?
Um, hey instructor, peace and love family. I just really got in maybe 20 minutes ago or so. I'm gonna need some notes from what I'm hearing. It's about everything that I need in my life right now. Just to breathe and be, really. So I'm gonna need some notes for sure, but I am definitely enjoying what I'm hearing.
Perfect. So now this is an opportunity for anybody who was on this call tonight to now take what you learned and teach somebody else. And that's what causes it to stick with you. So, and this is actually scientific fact as well. They took two groups of people and they taught them some information. But the difference is one group of people, they said, you have to take a test on this information the next day. And the other group of people, they say you have to teach this information to somebody the next day. And the people who had to teach it, they retained the information significantly better because they had to teach it to somebody else. So now this is the opportunity to have what was taught tonight stick inside of you by teaching it to somebody else. So, you know, don't everybody volunteer at once, but somebody please get Halima the information from tonight.
So yeah, I took some pretty good notes, Salima. So my handwriting is pretty crappy, but I can type them up and send them to you if you want to put your number in the chat or email.
You gotta teach it, not just send nobody no notes.
For sure. I can call you after this call if you want to put your number in the chat if you got time, or either after this call or whenever you free for real.
I'm going to be busy trying to put my kiddos to sleep at that time, but you can definitely send me them and we can can we text instructor? Like, can we text and get can I get a better understanding, or do we have to physically talk for me to get the better understanding of what he's saying?
It's however y'all decide. I'm just saying what would be the most beneficial would be for him to teach it. But however y'all decide is fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I'm about to put my number in the chat, and you can hit me up. I got class tomorrow, but we can for sure figure out a time for us to rap about it. It shouldn't take too long.
Okay, I'll definitely shoot you a text once I see your number.
All right, bet it up.
All right, anybody else? Questions, comments?
Just wanted to share my instructor. I'm always taking away something that I know is going to help me in my day-to-day life, and I'm going to be a tremendous help. I'm working towards that perfection that I never reached.
Perfect. Yeah, but you know that it's an asymptote, so you can get very close.
Go.
Anybody else? Just go through. Joseph, Lovely, Rada.
Yeah, no, definitely. I always appreciate the opportunity to learn, and also found it interesting. Like, I used to meditate when I first started using sound wave frequencies, but um, learning more about them, that's definitely more interesting. Now I can look into that more so on my own time as well and study up on it more just to better myself. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to learn.
Well, thank you for coming. Lovely, Rada. Y'all got anything for us?
Peace, everyone. I actually spent the day reading a book and working with tuning forks for brain entrainment. The way that you broke it down and opened it up in this class was just, very useful, and I can definitely see how I can integrate or begin to integrate this information into combat and practice with Kempo. So I appreciate you for the invitation to this class and for breaking that information down. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, it was right on time. Lovely, you got anything for us?
I'm constantly flipping back and forth through pages, right? Writing down stuff I might have missed or think I missed. But within this, to veggie back off of Mike and Kimmy, when they were talking about day-to-day life using everything, it makes me think about, I'm stuck on alpha. It's in the realm of which I work and everything like that, so it just helps me put it to better use inside and outside of the dojo. That whole meditation and the music during massage, relaxation, it makes so much sense when I watch people get up off of my table. So it's just nice to, again, with everybody else, just tie it in together. So I appreciate it. Gratitude.
Perfect. Sounds good. Instructor Nate, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I got a few things to say. Honestly, Instructor Keith, this was an awesome class, and he has given everybody here in this class information and a formula for being powerful. Now, one of the best things you can do while going out your day-to-day life and training is to actually take your experiences and turn them inward. And this will actually get you in tune with what all these different wavelengths feel like so that you can actually start to recognize it and then change when you need to. And I also love the way Instructor Keith talked about the plains of Africa, because I've had an experience just like that, hiking in the mountains without a headlamp in the dark in the wilderness, and I had a mountain lion stalking me. I could just feel it. And I did not panic. I did not run. I didn't go into any of the higher wavelengths. I just went about my business and stayed calm. And the mountain lion actually left me alone. There was no confrontation whatsoever. So this information is incredibly powerful. I encourage you to put it to use in your day-to-day lives and also pay attention to yourself. You'll also start to realize that it doesn't matter what anybody else does out there, especially in combat. It's all about you and what you do. So always bet on yourself. And always apply this information and knowledge wherever you can, especially in your day-to-day lives. That's how it's going to become a powerful and alive for you all.
Wait, that's perfect. And I'm glad you said that too, because I'm not sure if everybody knows, but animals sense frequency before they actually see, the being, or, what we call the human being. They sense the frequency first, and or vibration, for another term. But had you upshifted to gamma, fear, fight or flight, you know, it would have alerted the animal that you might be prey. But because you didn't go up to those states and you stayed calm, stay where you are, the animal wasn't necessarily put on high alert. So that was excellent. That was a great example, and I appreciate everything that you said. But it is 10:22 over here, so if nobody else has any other questions or comments, we can end this call. And I appreciate everybody that came. This was actually our largest online class so far. We had 17 people for the most part of this class. So appreciate everybody who came and who stayed, and hopefully everybody took away a lot. And yeah, see you all next week if you don't have anything else.
Peace, y'all. Good work today.
Peace.
Thanks, instructor. Peace out.
All right,
Peace,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank
family.
everyone. Y'all stay vigilant.
All right, instructor.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace and love, family.